morning, friends, and welcome back to another week. So today I am over at my aunt's house because the grapes that I showed you guys a couple weeks, oh gosh, that was probably like a month and a half, 2 months ago now, but those are ready to harvest. So myself, my aunt, and my uncle are going to head out to the backyard today to tackle that. So let's get at it. These are Concord grapes, and my aunt and cousin ended up making some absolutely delicious juice and jelly out of these, as well as making some grape pie filling. My grandmother had actually planted these Concord grapes many, many years ago, and as you can see, they've done very well. I think they were able to get about 8 pint jars of jelly and about 6 of the pie filling, and a few big jars. I'm not quite sure what the volume of them were, but they were, I think, like gallon-sized jars of the juice itself. I did take a jar of the pie filling and some of the juice home with me because I'm going to try some different stuff, try some different recipes that I have found. So stay tuned for that. My aunt and uncle's garden did absolutely fantastic this year, and we got all of the grapes off of the vines, and then we went through and grabbed any ripe or kind of blushing tomatoes, as well as some of the peppers that were also ready to be harvested. I took most of these to my dad, and he made some excellent salsa out of them, so I will write that recipe down, kind of the recipe that he followed, I should say. I will write that down at some point and link that somewhere for you guys once I do that. And we definitely have lots and lots and lots more to do with these tomatoes. And my aunt the other day went to a local farmer and got some more tomatoes so that we could make some stewed tomatoes, some more salsa, maybe some soups that we can can and preserve, that kind of thing. We were also having a family cookout later this day, so we grabbed some herbs from their garden to use for dinner as well. This right here is thyme, and we also grabbed some rosemary and some lemon sage too. My aunt and uncle also tried to grow some corn, which some of them did get ears and got pretty tall, but when we investigated one of the ears yesterday, it appears they didn't fully pollinate, so only a few of the kernels were actually puffed up. Some other items didn't do so well, like their okra and cucumbers, so next year I think what we're going to do is split the plants between both of our gardens, if that makes sense. So like, for example, pumpkins did great at my parents' house, well, until the deer came back, but you guys will see that in a second. So I will be planting pumpkins for both of us, and likewise tomatoes did great in her garden, so she will grow tomatoes for both of us next year as well. And this is the total harvest. We ended up getting roughly 7 to 8 gallons worth of the grapes, and I believe that my aunt does still have a few gallons in freezer bags in the freezer that we still need to process. So we will get to those in the next couple of weeks here. Here is some of the juice. I mean, that color is just absolutely divine. And this stuff is so good. We tried that. And then here is just a little jar of that pie filling. So I did notice there are a few seeds that you can see, but I think for the most part, it's pretty seedless. So before I use this in anything, I am going to probably strain it just to make sure that I get all the seeds out. Well, good morning, friends. I have some bad news that I need to share with all of you. So let's head out into the garden and take a look. So for the past couple of days, I have been in a near constant battle with these deer. I have tried natural deterrents. I tried this like shaker powder stuff. It was supposed to be like, resemble more crab apples falling off that tree. It was supposed to resemble like predator, I don't know, a predator scent or something. And these deers are evolved far past traditional means. So yeah, they ate everything. Honestly, they didn't really touch the peas. I mean, they ate all of my peas that were growing in that bed. Yeah, they ate all that. So let's go over and look at this bed. So yeah, they They came through. I actually had a pretty decent size pumpkin growing on this one. They haven't gotten him yet, but I'm sure he'll be gone soon. And then, if you guys remember, we had a big mama. Oh, this one was getting so big. It was getting a little squishy though, so I wasn't sure she was gonna make it. And then yeah, they ate this one all up. I mean, I still have, you know, a couple flowers, but it's too late now for anything else to happen. So unfortunately, we're closing the garden for this year because, I mean, it's like, I don't know, probably like 57, 60 right now. So yeah, a little disappointed. I mean, this was all just a test anyway, so I wasn't expecting to get anything miraculous out of the garden this year, but I'm choosing to take a page out of Becky's book, and I'm gonna just be grateful because sure, I didn't get any pumpkins or anything, but I got a couple peas off of those plants that I did get to eat. Unfortunately, I didn't film any of that because I kind of thought I would have more to show you guys, but they were delicious, so I'm gonna hold that, you know, close to me. But you know what, I'm just gonna be grateful that anything grew because I didn't think anything was gonna grow. So you know what, the fact that they ate those pumpkins in the in-ground bed and then they came back as well as they did and produced fruit, you know, I'll take that. But one interesting thing I need to show you over here, because I noticed this the other day when I was out here with my parents, and please excuse all of the weeds in this bed, I do need to get back in here, but that's a tomato plant. So that's a tomato plant, and we're just in this hosta iris bed right now. So that was really cool to see. Obviously nothing's gonna happen with that, but you know, it seems a bird may have come by and given us a little gift, so that's pretty cool. Something else I wanted to show you, I'm just gonna turn you guys around. This zinnia, you know, it's not as big as it could be, but I think that's beautiful. We started that from seed. I noticed this the other day. We have another little one popping up, and I mean, these marigolds are just, they're absolutely gorgeous. So I'm very thankful for this. But if you guys remember, I had some tomatoes in the other little pot that I was just keeping to see what would happen with. And look at that. So you know what? The deer can have the pumpkins, they can have the peas, they can have the butternut squash this year. We grew a tomato, friends. We grew a tomato. So that wraps up the garden tour for today. But I do have some fun preserving things that I need to show you. So let's head inside and I will show you that. Okay, so the other day I got to hang out with my sister and we went to a local apple orchard and we got some amazing Honeycrisp apples. So what I will be doing today is making apple butter out of half of them that I cut up yesterday, and then I will be making an apple pie for dinner tonight with the rest of these. Okay, I think I can start now. All right, so the first thing I want to get going is the apple butter because you basically throw it all in this crock pot and then you let it go for 10 hours, which is my kind of recipe. I will link the recipe that I am following in the description. However, I did make some changes to this recipe just based on my personal taste. So the recipe calls for 6.5 pounds of apples that are cored, peeled, peeled, cored, and sliced, which is what we have here. I did these yesterday. That's why they're a little brown. Probably didn't put enough lemon juice on them and thought I was gonna tackle this project at 4:30 last night. Definitely not gonna happen. So I have my apples here. I have them in a separate bowl. I was gonna stir it all in this, but it's a little tight. So we're gonna try in the equally as tight bowl and see how that works. So you have your 6.5 pounds of apples. You need a cup of granulated sugar, a cup of brown sugar, a tablespoon of cinnamon, a half teaspoon of nutmeg, a quarter teaspoon of salt, and then a tablespoon of vanilla. You throw it all in the crock pot, 10 hours on low, stir it every couple, bingo bango, Chango. Now I do have some extra apples that I sliced yesterday for this, so I'm just gonna throw these into the pie with the rest of the apples that I haven't gotten to. So, enough talking, Sarah, get to it. All right, so I'm gonna get a cup of sugar here. This is a little chunky, so I'm gonna give it a little zhuzh, zhuzherino. And a cup. I should probably do this over the bowl. This is a cup, right? Yeah, looks kind of small. All right, cup of granulated sugar. Cup of brown sugar. Not sure why that bag is wet on the outside. And I will be using store-bought pie crust today. I know, as a baker, it pains me, but I just truly can't be bothered today. As you guys saw, came over today to a little bit of a disappointment. So I'm gonna give myself some grace, and I'm just gonna make some yummy stuff because that's what makes me happy. And yeah, I love making stuff for like baked goods for people. I haven't really been doing that a lot lately, just personal things going on, but I want to get back into that. So I figured today, since I'm already doing this apple butter, I will make a yummy apple pie with the rest of the apples that I got from the orchard. Oh, and speaking of the orchard, I did actually take some footage while I was there. However, that the like tractor hayride that you had to take out to the picking area and then back was incredibly bumpy. You know what? It's a tablespoon, so just you know, that's about a tablespoon. Do as I say, not as I do. Measure this stuff. Okay, so then you have all of that in there. Oh, I forgot my salt. I'm always forgetting salt. Ooh. Yeah, we have sea salt. Perfect. Just do a little more for good luck, right? Okay, so now I'm going to attempt to stir this in this bowl. We'll see how far I get before I give up. Oh, and our oven is preheated. Oh, so we can talk about the pie too. So this pie, I'm following another recipe that I will link in the description. I believe it is called Grandma Ogle's apple pie. And I gotta say, Grandma Ogle sounds like that woman knew what she was doing, because honestly, this pie sounds delicious. And as you can see, I've already given up. Apples in with all your yumminess. Set it to low. And now we just leave it alone for the next 10 hours. So, oh no. Oh man. Oh man. I gotta say, I've had a lot of apples in my life, but the ones, it's called Spicer's Orchard. It's in Michigan. If you're ever out this way, oh man. If you're ever out this way, you have to go there because they, hands down, have the best Honeycrisp apples. Just by themselves, they're delicious. And I will say, these apples that I picked and that I'm using for the pie and stuff today were a little underripe. I know that they were a little on the more green side than they should have been, but honestly, I'm not mad about it because those green areas are kind of more sour, and the redder areas that are more ripe are sweeter, so you still kind of get that mix of different apples. Let's get this pie going.
For this pie, you will need roughly 8 small apples, or just as many as needed, a half a cup of butter, 3 tablespoons of all-purpose flour, a half a cup of granulated sugar, a half a cup of brown sugar, and a 1/4 cup of water, and then obviously your pie pastry. I did use store-bought crust today because it was in my parents' freezer and we just needed to use it up, but I would highly recommend making your own pastry because it is super easy to do and relatively quick of a process, especially once you kind of learn the ins and outs of it. I peeled and sliced all the apples, but cubed up about 3 of them because I wanted a little difference in texture within the pie. But at the end of the day, it didn't really make a difference. So next time I do this, I'll either cube them all or I will just slice them all. So the first thing you want to do is line the bottom of your pie tin with your bottom crust. Ideally, I would have rolled this out a little bit further so it came up a little bit more over the edge, but there is no rolling pin in this house and I can't find anything to, like, there's no wine bottles, there's no, I guess I could use that canola can. Well, this part's already in here, but we'll roll out the other one a little bit. According to this recipe, what you want to do next is put all of your apples in the crust and form a little mound. Okay. So, we'll eat that one. Okay. Definitely a mound, I would say. I think it's safe to say that that is a mound. I'm going to push these in just a smidge because they're coming up a little high. So the next thing we're going to do is we are going to roll out the lattice that goes on top of the pie. Yes, we are putting the lattice on first. So the cool thing about this recipe, and why I decided we're going to do this recipe for today, is because you create almost like a caramel gravy and you like pour that over the pie on top of the lattice as well, so it seeps in and then it makes the lattice all nice and caramely and crusty too. Oh my gosh, you guys, I'm so excited. Okay, so I've just lightly floured my surface here. I've also kind of lightly floured our rolling pin here. So I'm just gonna try to get this just a little bit thinner, a little bit larger. So that way we know we will definitely cover the entire pie. Because we do have a lot of apples in there. There's definitely more than, and it called, the recipe, I reread it while I was changing the camera angle there. And it says 8 small Granny Smith apples. Yeah, the apples that I was using were definitely not small. Definitely not small. They were hunks of burning love. I'm gonna first just kind of score it with the back of the knife just so I make sure that I don't do any damage to the counter either. But in case I'm gonna change anything, I can. So I've just scored the entire thing, so now I'm just gonna go ahead and slice all of those down that line. I cut the strips into about 1-inch thick slices and began weaving them on top of the pie. And once I had all of the strips weaved together, I tucked the excess between the bottom crust and the pie plate. Then I pressed that seam together to make sure it didn't pop open or do, you know, anything crazy in the oven. And I didn't egg wash the top of this pie before baking it because we were putting that lovely caramelly saucy goodness on top. But I think next time I will egg wash it because some of the crust that didn't get covered by that yummy, yummy deliciousness looks a little pale compared to everything else. So I lost the footage of me making that beautiful caramel gravy, is what we're calling it, for the top of that pie. But basically what you do is you put your butter in a pot, you let that melt, then you add your flour and you create like a roux or a paste, and you kind of cook that out for about a minute or two, just so you cook out that raw flour taste. And then you're going to add both of your sugars and your 1/4 cup of water. I did have to add just a little bit of water, but that is because I didn't measure my flour out. Do as I say, not as I do. Learn from my mistakes. So I did have to thin it out a little bit. But once I was able to do that, I poured that all over the top of the pie. And friends, just wait until you see this thing come out of the oven. Oh my goodness. Bottom looks nice and golden brown. All right. And here is our final product. And now for the family taste test. Here's
the official pie baker for everything.
You hear that? All right. Oh yeah.
After I let this apple butter cool completely, I put it in a couple of jars, and I didn't water bath can or pressure can this batch because this was more of kind of a test run, I guess, if you will.
So yeah, that's just kind of what I've been up to this week, and I just wanted to say thank you guys for joining me. If you do, I know I haven't really had much to show you. Unfortunately, we've kind of lost this battle with the deer this year, but I am hopeful that next year we'll be able to get it all figured out. Thank you so much for joining me this week. I really appreciate each and every one of you. And yeah, just thank you to the wonderful people who wrote the recipes that I used today. Thank you to people like Becky at Acre Homestead and MI Gardener and Epic Gardener and all those lovely channels. You guys have truly taught me an incredible amount in the few short months that I've been tackling something like this. So I just want to say thank you to all of you for inspiring me and helping me on this crazy journey. So that's all I have, and I'll see you guys, I don't know, I'll see you next week maybe. Okay, well I hope you have a wonderful day, and until next time, bye for now.